Hello everybody, I'm Katie. Today I want to do my quarterly reading wrap-up. So today I'm going to talk about all the books that I've read in autumn, that is September, October and November. And you know, maybe you saw that video or maybe you didn't, but last week I did my TBR video for the next 3 months, which is called TBR Winter 2016 and 17. I will link it up here if you want to check that out. But today I'm going to talk about all the books that I've read through the autumn month. And yeah, can you guess what we are going to do next week? That's right, next Sunday there will be the autumn book haul, where I talk about all the books that I bought within the last 3 months. So let's get right into this week's video. So first off, I've got a few numbers for you. So in total I've read this 3 month 17 books. 13 of those books were fiction and there were 4 non-fiction books because, you know, it was non-fiction November. So going to talk about them. Also from these 17 books, 16 were English books and 1 was a German book. So I had 0 1-star books this month, but I had 3 2-star books, 7 3-star books, 2 4-star books and 3 5-star books, and 2 that I don't really know if I should rate them or if I can rate them, because they were I'm telling you when we get there. Also, I've made in-depth book reviews on most of these books that I'm going to talk about. So if you want to know more about those books or know a little bit more what I thought about them, why I rated them the way I rated them, I'll put all the reviews and the links in the description below, because, you know, I review books a lot because that's what I do on this channel. So let's get started with the first book that I finished in September. I started this in October. I started this in August, and it is called Crime and Poetry by Amanda Flower, a magical bookshop mystery. It's the first in a series. This was a 3-star read for me. It is about this girl, Violet. What is she called? Violet something. Violet and her grandma Daisy is running a magical bookshop in this little village called Cascade Springs near Niagara Falls, and she comes home because her grandmother told her that she was dying, but she actually isn't dying. She just wanted Violet to get home, and it picks up from there because Grandma Daisy's boyfriend gets murdered and Grandma Daisy is a suspect, and yeah, Violet has to find a murderer. And I thought it was fine. I didn't really like Violet a lot. She was okay in the end, but I pretty much knew from the scene where the murderer was introduced that this person was going to be the murderer, so there's that. And which is, you know, quite early on. So, and I felt like there wasn't really much story, much plot to it. There was a lot of like every scene really existed just to reveal more information about the murderer, and there wasn't really any subplots. So I gave it 3 stars. It was okay, a light summer read, but I don't think I will continue on with the series. So next book I've read is called Coriander by Sally Gardner. This is a children's novel. It won the Nestle Book Prize Gold Award in 2005. It is Sally Gardner's first novel. She's also an illustrator. She illustrated a lot of books, and this was also a 3-star book for me. It is set in the 17th century in London, where we meet Coriander and we kind of follow her through her life. She is born into quite a wealthy family. Her father is a very rich merchant. Her mother is very loved and respected in their neighborhood, and people turn to her when they need herbs and remedies for when they are sick. And yeah, the story really picks up when Coriander receives some silver sparkling magical shoes, and her parents don't allow her to wear them and lock them away, and Coriander steals the key and, you know, wears them regardless of what their parents are saying. And then there is some evil witch involved, and I don't know. The story, there's a point in this book where the story stops making sense, and I completely ranted about this in my review. But I like the writing style, because this is a kind of book that is written in first-person narration, so Coriander tells us her story, and it is written in a way that Coriander sits down one night and kind of writes her memoir. I'm sorry, and yeah, I like the writing style a lot. So the next two books that I've read are these two books. The first book is called, it's a series or a duology, I think there are just two books. The first book is called Once a Witch, and the second book is called Always a Witch by Carolyn MacCullough, or something like that. I can't really pronounce her name, I'm sorry. So the first book, that's funny, I actually bought it when I was in London 5-ish years ago, and then I bought the second book a year ago, and I haven't read them yet, so yeah, that's I finally read them. Once a Witch was a 4-star book for me. Always a Witch was a 3-star. These books are about Tamsin Green, who is born into a family of witches, but she doesn't have any powers, or so she thinks. And she is kind of the black sheep of the family. She has moved away from the little village where all her family lives, and she lives in New York now, where she attends school. And she's been home over the summer and helping out in the bookshop of her grandmother's bookshop again. And one night a stranger stumbles in her bookshop and wants her and mistakes her for her older sister Rowena, and wants her to find a long-lost family heirloom, which she then attempts to do with the help of her friend Gabriel. And events pick up from there, and then this book is, I don't want to talk too much about it because it would spoil a lot of this book. So this is the sequel where everything gets wrapped up, and I really don't know why there are two books. This plot would have fit easily into one book. So yeah, I really like this, and this was not as good, and I felt well, there were a lot of plot holes and convenient things happening, and well, it was a let's wrap this shit up kind of book, so yeah. But I like this book, and it is very YA-ish, so if you don't like young adult books, don't bother to check them out. But if you like witches and a light Halloween read for next year, then this could be for you. So the next book that I read is actually one that I just bought the same month. It is called The Accidental Afterlife of Thomas Marsden by Emma Trevayne. This was in my birthday book haul, which I also will link you up here if you want to check that one out. Yeah. This book, you guys. This book. This was a 2-star read for me. I really don't like this book at all. Or I think it was, you know, okay-ish, but I know it's not good, you guys, it's not good. It's about Thomas Marsden. It is set in Victorian England, first of all. I didn't know that going into it. It is about Thomas Marsden, who is a gravedigger, and one night he digs up a body who looks just like him, and events pick up from there. He has to find out that he's not his parents' real son. They found him on a grave and kept him, and he wants to find out where he's really from, and then he gets involved with some fairies and has to do some things. I didn't like this book because it was so boring and really nothing happens. Nothing happens in this book. It is a children's book, obviously, but it's so depressing also, and dreadful, and there's no fun in this book at all, and the villain is really weak, and the fairies are... There's this one fairy who's just complaining and hinting. This book is hinting to so much, hinting to things that have been, hinting to things that maybe, and hinting to things that they maybe want to do right now, and it's a book that no. Now we're going into the October territory. This is also a book that I bought in the in my birthday book haul, I think. Yeah, probably. It is called Hounds of Autumn by Heather Blackwood, and I finished this in October. It's the first book that I finished in October, and I love this book. It was a 5-star read for me. It is not super literature, like super important literature, but that is also a steampunk novel, and I liked it a lot. It is set in obviously Victorian England, but it has steampunk elements in it. If you don't like steampunk, it is not overpowering to a level where I say this is absolutely ridiculous, because everything steampunky that is in here is something that I could believe exists or could exist in this time. And we follow our main protagonist Chloe. She comes to Dartmoor with her husband. They want to visit some family, and Chloe also wants to visit a fellow female mechanic, because she's a female mechanic and or inventor, and she wants to visit this person and who she had correspondence through letters with over a number of years. So but when they arrive in Dartmoor, Chloe has to learn that her friend was murdered, and she decides to investigate the murder. Yeah, and I really liked it, and I didn't really know who the murderer was until the end, until it was revealed, so that was good. I would have never guessed, but it did make sense. Like, it wasn't like out of nowhere, like, da-da, this is the bad guy. No, it did make sense, and I think it was written fairly well, and I can recommend it if you like murder mysteries kind of things. So the next book that I've read, it took ages for me to finish. It is The Buried Giant by Kazuo Ishiguro. This was a 3-star book for me. Yeah, it's about this couple, Axel and Beatrice, and they go on a journey to find their son, who has gone away from them. And this is set in England after the Arthurian, like, how do I explain it? It's not really the Middle Ages, but it's after the Romans left Britain. And you know, the Arthurian legend, like the Arthur and the, how do you say them, Knights of the Round Table? I don't know. After the legend of King Arthur, it takes place after that, and it was interesting and long and a bit boring in the end. But I've never read Kazuo Ishiguro, so there you go. And it was interesting for me because I read a lot of fantasy, so this has fantasy elements in it, and it is very different to the stereotypical high fantasy epic journey kind of books. So that was very interesting. There were a lot of interesting things in here, but I gave it 3 stars because it was just very long. The writing was very stiff and formal, and but I did like a lot of things in here. So yeah, maybe if you are a little bit tired of the typical high fantasy book, then maybe give this a chance. But this is a very special book, so I can't guarantee you that you like it. So, oh, I'm so sorry. This is going to be a very long video. I'm so sorry about this, but hey, you clicked on it, so it's your own fault. Yeah, let's talk about a trilogy that I really didn't like at all, and I made a 20 minutes rant about this, so linking it up here if you want to check it out. I'm talking about the Paper Magician trilogy by Charlie and Holmberg, and boy, no. So the first book is The Paper Magician, then the second book is The Glass Magician, and the third book is The Master Magician. And where shall I begin? Actually, the first book is kind of okay. It is it was a 3-star book for me, and then we have The Glass Magician, which was a 2-star book for me. Almost I lean more to 1.8 or 1.7, and this also a 2-star book, but I also lean more towards 1.8 stars because so many problems with these books. And the thing is, I just read, or I just because I watched a review of someone else of The Paper Magician, and someone in the comments said that this was supposed to be kind of a Howl's Moving Castle kind of vibe, and I don't see that at all. I love Howl's Moving Castle. It's one of my favorite books of all time, and this shit doesn't even come near Howl's Moving Castle. I mean, I'm sorry, but no. Don't compare these two. What? Anyways, so we have our main protagonist, Sienna 12. She gets assigned to be a paper magician, which she doesn't want to be. She wants to be a metal magician or a smelter. But she has to become a folder, which is how the paper magicians are called. And she doesn't want to do that, but she soon realizes that paper does have a little bit of a fun in it. So paper magic, I mean. And yeah, oh, you guys, I don't really want to talk about this. I made a 20-minute videos. You can watch me rant about this, but yeah, we basically follow her, and in the second book, in the end of the first book and through the rest of the series, it gets really no. It's just the plot basically just evolves around this stupid ass romance, and I'm sorry for my language, but no, I'm so angry with these books, and I'm so angry with, like, how can this be printed out from my female point of view. Sienna is just a really bad character in the last 2 books, especially. In the beginning of the first book, she's actually quite okay, but then it just, as soon as she is like falling in love with her teacher, Embry Thane, she's like this crybaby girl. She doesn't really do anything. She just sits around and waits to be saved by her strong man, and no. And I really expected much more from this series, and you know, I like romance if it's done well, but Sienna is just such a bad character. She is also very arrogant. She thinks she knows everything, and she thinks she can handle everything, and especially in the third book, the whole plot just exists because she's dumb, just because she's so stupid, and she makes stupid decisions, and still thinks she's so smart. So yeah, I'm starting to rant again, so I'm not doing that again. But there are a lot of problems that I have with these books. Check out my review video if you want to know more. The next book I've read is the first book I've finished in November, and it is the only German book that I've read in these 3 months. So it is called Haus, tausend Spiegel by Susanne Gerdom. This is a very new release. This is not translated, and I doubt it ever will be translated because it's not a bestseller, I think, and I doubt it will be a bestseller. I bought this as a birthday present for myself, as a kind of a trash read. And yeah, this was a 3-star book for me. I don't really need to tell you anything about it because most of you can't read it, so if you're German and you want to know what I thought about it, there's the review link in the description below, so check it out. Then in November, of course, it was non-fiction November, so I've read a little bit of non-fiction, and the first 2 books that I've read were Weird Things Customers Say in Bookshops and More Weird Things Customers Say in Bookshops by Jen Campbell. And these are the 2 books that I don't really know how to rate or if I should rate them, because yeah, they were good. I laughed a lot. There are little quotes and stories from booksellers, from Jen, obviously, but also from other booksellers about weird things customers say in bookshops, and it was a lot of fun. Some people have interesting realities and ask interesting questions. So yeah, I really enjoyed these 2, but I don't know how to rate them because they are so short, and it was still non-fiction November. So I finished Diana Wynne Jones's Reflections on the Magic of Writing, and I say I finished it. I started it last year in December, so but I thought non-fiction November was a good time to finish it, so I did, and it was wonderful. I love Diana Wynne Jones. She's one of my favorite authors of all time, and there were this is a collection of all of her, or of a few of her essays and lectures and articles and stuff like that. And a brief biography is also in this book, and very heartbreaking in the end, things that her sons said about her after she died, and a speech that a son held at her funeral. And yeah, that was really heartbreaking in the end, but there were definitely a lot of things that I took from this book in regards of my own writing and how I write and how I sit down and write, and about the whole writing process and how I look at books and how I look at fantasy books and how I look at children's books. And yeah, I can really recommend this to you if you want to be a writer or if you like Diana Wynne Jones novels. Yeah, it gets a little bit repetitive because she obviously talks a lot about the same subjects in different on different occasions, so it's a little bit repetitive in that regard. And also, if you've never read any Diana Wynne Jones novel, you might get a little bit lost and confused because she obviously references her own work and she talks about her own books, so keep that in mind. But otherwise, I really enjoyed it. Then I've read 2 other books, and these are very peculiar books. At this point, when I'm filming this and when I'm uploading this, there's no review for these books, but I am going to film the review later and it is going up Friday, so stay tuned. I'm talking about The Singular and Extraordinary Tale of Mirror and Goliath and The Contrary Tale of the Butterfly Girl, both by Ishbel B. And oh boy! So let's talk about The Singular and Extraordinary Tale of Mirror and Goliath, which is, you know, about Mirror and Goliath. Or so you think. There's a little bit more to it. It is set in Victorian England, obviously, and this book, I gave it 4 stars. I absolutely loved it. I have to reread it, actually. There's so much in it. It is about Mira and Goliath. Mira got shoved into a clock by her grandfather and something happened to her in this clock, and then Goliath is her shape-shifting guardian, so he can change into different animals. And yeah, they want to find out what happened, what was the thing that happened to Mira in this clock. And yeah, things happen, a lot of things happen. Some things seem to make no sense, but so this book is, I'm pretty sure this is full of magic, and this book is pure chaos. There are some trigger warnings. If you don't like multiple POVs and first person narrators, if you don't like timeline jumping, then don't pick this up. This will drive you crazy. But I really loved it, I really loved that about it, that it was so chaotic and magical, and that you as a reader really had to stay focused and stay aware of everything that happens and put the pieces together yourself, that you had to get things out of context and had to interpret a little bit so you would understand what was happening. So I really enjoyed this a lot. And then I started the second book, The Contrary Tale of the Butterfly Girl, and I had to put it down after 50 pages or something because it just got too silly, and I don't know if it was a overdose because I just read the first book, and you know, that is actually a lot of silliness in there as well, but this book is just so over the top that I just couldn't handle it, so I put it down. And I've read the Bookshop book by Jen Campbell because it still was Nonfiction November and this was on my TBR, and I've read it. It was wonderful, 5 stars. This book made me laugh, it made me cry, it made me fall in love with books even more. It made me want to travel the world and see all those wonderful book shops and buy a lot of books. And if you're a lover of books, I highly recommend you check this out. It was a 5-star book for me. I loved it. I'm so glad I've read it. And I'm probably giving it to my mother for Christmas, so. But let's get back to The Contrary Tale, whoops, upside down, of the Butterfly Girl, which is the last book that I will torture you with. This video is long enough right now, so I'm done, almost. This book ultimately ended up being a 3-star book for me. It is not as good as the first book in the series, and I think there will be a 3rd book because the ending of this one is very set up for another book, which I hope will come out. And I think both of these books came out in the same year, and I wish Ishbel B would have taken more time to put in here, more time in here and just thought about the things that she wrote, because while the other book is very jumping around in timelines and you have to think about all the things yourself, this book is very straightforward, a very straight narrative, and we do have our multiple POV characters, but they're just not as compelling as in the other book, and also the pacing was a little bit weird, and I didn't understand, like, there was a villain but then he just got defeated and there was another villain out of the blue, and I don't know, you guys, no, I still liked the writing style. It was very chaotic but also very repetitive. There was this one word that she kept using and using multiple times throughout the book, basically, really on every other page, and you know, well, if there is a 3rd book, I'm going to read it, but I definitely loved the first book. This book is so-so. So here they are, all the books that I've read the past 3 months. So I'm going to do this type of thing quarterly because I couldn't do that every month. I don't think so. And yeah, so this was this video. I'm going to wrap this up really quick because this video is probably going to be 30 minutes long already. So yeah, I hope you have an awesome day. I hope you enjoyed this type of video, and I will see you soon. Bye!